Hi everyone, a very good evening. So thank you very much for joining this session. So we'll be starting in a minute or two. Let few more attendees also join in. So our speaker Kiran is also here with us, and we'll try to start within 2 minutes. Okay, so we have good enough attendees now. Thank you so much everyone for joining this session. We have our speaker Kiran as well with us. So Kiran, I'm handing over the mic officially to you. You can take this up. Also, all the attendees will take the Q&A section at the end of the session. The Q&A section is already enabled. You can type your questions into that, and we'll take all the questions at the end of the session. Kiran, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Adil. So you can also see me if somebody can confirm.
Yes, Kiran, we can see and hear you as well. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. So good evening, everyone. Myself, Kiran. Very little brief about myself. I have been with the investment banking services from past 20 years now. I started off my career in 2005, beginning with IG Global Solution. That was my campus placement. So after that, in 2009, I joined Acuity Knowledge Partners. It's been 15 years now. So entire my life, I would say 19 plus years, has been predominantly into the investment banking services. So today, with my experience of let's say 19 plus years, I just wanted to briefly talk about going back to my 20 years back of journey, how actually one can actually look at this industry as a career place, and how you can actually be industry ready. So with that context, we would broadly touch upon few highlights of this KPO industry today. With one objective is how I can get into this industry, what this industry does, in primarily how actually this industry operates, what are the different players are there, and for as an individual student, what is that me need to be equipped as a student to get into this industry and also to be successful. I hope that excites everyone. So to give a very broad high level overview, what is this KPO industry all about? So KPO industry is we have currently the size of 6 billion market, of which 70% is also coming from India. So that is the size of the India, and also it is growing. It's growing at a very good, healthy numbers of 2-digit numbers. So now the question arises: what is driving this growth, and what is driving this industry? This is very critical here. So one factor is definitely the significant amount of the talented individuals where this country can actually produce, many like you, and also the technological advancements what we have, which augments this entire KPO business model, is also very, very critical. And also the next important point is the language proficiency what we have while we are working with the global clients, right? So English is one very, very important language, which I believe like India is one of this finest thing what we actually do is English proficiency. That is also helping. And also when we say KPOs, so we primarily work with financial services where data security and data integrity becomes the highest critical factor for a successful business model. So therefore, the industry has also adopted many of this quality standards like ISO 9000 and Six Sigma, everything. And outside that, what it actually produces, We have very bespoke business models which can cater to different financial companies. We'll be talking more of that, but this is a very high level of what is this industry size, what is it growing, and also what are the high level growth factors which are actually driving this business. So here, if you actually look at it, this a simple representation of an x-axis, y-axis. One side we have a business value, another side we have a knowledge intensiveness or a judgment-based kind of work. So if we can actually put the different tasks into this plot, we can actually start understanding what is the role of a BPO and how this eventually transforms from a BPO kind of work to mature knowledge-based, knowledge-intensive, a KPO kind of work. So I'll just give you 30 seconds here, just try to visualize, try to understand, comprehend this particular piece. So we have x-axis, the rule-based, moving towards judgment-based to knowledge intensiveness. And on the top, we have the business value. So the impact of the business value, the high to low, right? So on the blue section, what we see is primarily the judgment-based work, which is broadly catered by a BPO kind of organizations. What we do there, payroll processing, customer support center, maybe credit card, debit card services, which also falls into the financial services, but primarily rule-based, right? So then slowly you actually move up the value chain. We go into accounts payable, account receivable, then mortgage services. That is where slowly you start getting into the KPO zone, where the knowledge intensiveness becomes more and more. So this is where is the area which we will be talking about more today, how to get into this zone and how you can actually be rightly qualified to get into this zone. With a brief definition, the BPO is a contracting of specific business tasks, a very specific business tasks which are mostly rule-based with low business impact. So I have underlined low business impact. We'll also be discussing that in a slightly more detailed. And also on the KPO side, is high business impact tasks are performed, right? So these are the key two differences. One is the high business impact, low business impact, rule-based to judgment-based. Now, what else get interesting here is if you have to look at this financial service KPO is what is the rising demand, and there is a high demand for the skilled resources in the market. Again, with my 20 years of experience, I can say the struggles what we have while we go to campuses to hire people. We'll be discussing those, and we'll also be discussing about how we can actually bridge those gaps. So now let's also understand this financial services as a horizontal function and also vertical function, because this is one of the common mistake in understanding of this space, which will help you to better now understand what is KPO. Many a times there is also a misunderstanding of finance meaning accounting, finance meaning account receivable, payments, balance sheet, cash flows. Yes, I agree. Those are all there. But if you look at those functions as an enablement services, for example, let's forget the entire financial services. Let's look at some industries, automobile, healthcare, education, retail. So these are also different industries which sustain with some finance support. So their entire business model is very different than a financial services. So this is where it gets very, very important for us to understand the finance function as a horizontal. So for example, Mahindra also will have a finance function which helps them to process their accounts receivables, accounts payable. But that finance is not the core business of Mahindra. So Mahindra doesn't make money with finance function. Finance function enables Mahindra to do their business correct. Similarly for healthcare. Similarly, for any kind of non-profit organizations, if you get into any kind of schools or colleges, everybody will have a finance function in their organization. That is what we call it as an horizontal function. So these functions are predominantly or non-core operations of the business, which are outsourced to BPOs. That's where we call it as business process outsourcing, where these kind of non-core operations have been now outsourced to BPOs, which are rules driven, which are policy driven. So these are certain, if you have just named few BPOs here, which kind of does this kind of task. So now if we can go back to the previous slide. This is where the blue line or the blue box is where we are talking about the horizontal function. Now coming to banks and financial institutions. So now take an example of HSBC or any bank what you have in mind. how these guys make money. So these guys make money with lendings, with debt issuances, with M&A advisory, with XYZ, the different tasks which are primarily money involved. So now, players like Acuity or KPO firm will start supporting these banks in their revenue operations, enabling them to do a better revenue function. So this is the key difference between a BPO and a KPO. KPOs primarily do KPO financial services primarily support the revenue function of the financial institutions as against a BPOs where they function, where they support the enablement services of a individual sectors. So we can actually now see horizontal services operate as an enablement function. Is also finance. Vertical function drives the revenue for a business, so that is also finance. So today we'll be talking primarily on the vertical function, which KPOs play a critical role. So this is a very important distinction as a student. You need to understand what is that which you are getting into. Are you getting into a BPO? Are you getting into a KPO? What is that you want to do? What is that you prepared for? Well, many a time what we have realized in my past experiences, there's a lack of understanding of this landscape, how the industry is actually structured within horizontal functions of finance and vertical functions of finance. Now, again, I'll go back to the previous slide. You'll be able to better now visualize all the blue ones here. What we see are supporting the enablement function of different industries, different corporates across the globe into their business processes. But what we see on the yellow box, the financial services, why we particularly call us, we are primarily supporting the companies which are into financial industry, which make money through lending advisory. Therefore, this is the difference. So we are talking about finance as a vertical services. I hope we are all on this one. So now another common lack of understanding in the market is many of us don't really understand what are the different forms are there in the market. So many forms, many of the corporates come to our colleges, or you guys want to apply, right? There is a lack of understanding of what is a BPO, what is a KPO, what is captive. So now we have already briefly talked about what is a BPO, what is a KPO. Right? So BPO again, it's an outsourcing of very specific business process, and KPO is more of an information related, thought process related, or a judgment kind of related tasks. What is the level of complexity? BPO gives you low to medium. KPO does it medium to higher complexities. Right. So what is the value creation? If you see this, this is the one very important one. Captives will come a little later. So what is the value creation? So outsourcing of non-core operation allows the companies to focus on their core business operations. Right. So that is the simple value creation for a BPO. But for a KPO, there is a lot more. You are not only letting them to focus on their core operations, you are trying to augment their revenue generating ability, faster go to market, etc. Right. Then we also have a multiple support model. For each bank will have different requirements, and the KPOs actually cater them with a different, very customized business models to them. So now we understood what are the BPO, what are the KPO. Now gets very critical. If I ask even many of the industry folks who are into 1 to 2 years in the industry, they fail to explain me the difference between a KPO and a captive, which gets again very, very critical. Right. So now we discussed in the previous slide. So we talked about HSBC. HSBC operations, now a couple of operations where we are supporting the front-end bankers through Acuity. So that is where Acuity is a KPO or a third party, and HSBC is our client. Right? Let's assume a scenario where HSBC itself has a entity in Bangalore or maybe in India, where they have their own team sitting in India supporting their own banks. So this team does absolutely same thing what a KPO firm does, but KPO does for multiple clients, but this captive does for their own consumption, for their parent company. Again, to make it very simple, for example, you assume a bank, let's say like a mysterious bank of America. So they don't have any of the US Indian entities, so they look for a third-party vendor who can actually augment or support their analyst or associate group. So they engage with firms like Acuity, so where we start supporting them as an extension to their teams. So now, so there is another bank in the same US, let's say Bank of America. So now Bank of America, if they have their own entity in India, the private entity, so they will have their own team sitting in their office. They'll be working only for Bank of America. Whatever these guys produce, that is only consumed by Bank of America. So those are called captives, right? So next slide gives you a very brief understanding. So if you see captives, so we have Deloitte, EY, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, HSBC. So these are all broadly the captives, right? Again, this is a very indicative list. There's many more in the market. I just wanted to get you guys a sense of how this market is structured. What is BPO? What is KPO? What are captives? What are the list of captives? Let's say CRISIL. CRISIL, if you see, CRISIL is also present in captive. CRISIL is also present in KPO. I deliberately put that one. The reason is CRISIL has the team which produces research and analytics content for their own consumption. Plus, CRISIL also has their different clients across the globe who they support on the research and analytics. Like I said, KPO. So KPO, we have Acuity, we have Nocraft, Aranka, SG, CRISIL, XYZ. Now the BPOs. So BPOs, we have Genpact, WNS. This is again the list. So as an insight, whenever a company comes to college or you always want to apply, always try and understand the job description. The moment you understand the job description, you will be able to better judge 2-3 things. One is it a BPO job or is it a KPO job, or is it a captive? Right now, also the role also explains you whether this is rule based or it is a judgment based. How much of your analytical skills are required to perform these tasks? So those get very, very critical for you to first understand the landscape. So only when you understand the landscape of what is this financial services KPO India structured, how these guys make money, what are the different players, what are the different business models, right? So how actually I can move from a KPO to a captive, how I can actually move from a BPO to KPO, XYZ. If Accenture is coming, everybody wants to apply, but please do understand the business description or the job description while you apply. Ask questions. Right? You can ask questions provided you know the landscape, what you're getting, right? So with that, we broadly talked about the high level of the KPO industry, right? What are the different players? What are the different models? What is very importantly, what is the finance as a horizontal function to a vertical function? How you should be careful about choosing the job profiles, right? So now, next we'll slightly converge into more of what they do on a day-to-day activity. So maybe now broadly understood the financial structure. Now it's also important for us to understand what Acuity does. So if I join as an analyst, what is that I'm expected to do so that I can start preparing myself to get into this organization. So that is where now slowly things will start get converging so that we can end of the session, we'll be able to understand, okay, this is the landscape. These are the skills required. How I can actually be industry ready in next 3 to 6 months, right? Here again, I'll just take a quick pause and give you a very, very high level, some landscaping of different tasks, what is performed in a KPO forms. If you look at investment banking support. So in investment banking support, what the analyst like you who joins does. So they do financial ratio analysis, absolute relative industry research. Then we do company research, financial modeling. Again, if you look at equity research analysis, equity, the fourth column. So the different things what we do. If you look at brokerage firms, if you look at asset managers. Now, if you ask me what is this slide going to helpful? Now it's going to helpful. So one among you who's been watching this wants to get into an equity research role. Now you know what are the skill set, what are the tasks performed in the industry, and how you can actually do a reverse engineering to prepare yourself to sync up to this exact requirements. Right? You might be focusing on something very different while you have a wish of joining as an equity research analyst. right? So this is where it gets critical. So these are the tasks which we perform. Again, I repeat, so WAC analysis, performance. We will again try to converge all these things to more academics and see how we can bridge it. So outside all of this, another two extremely important for you to sustain in this world of KPOs is your skills on MS Excel and MS PowerPoint. These two are going to be an utmost, topmost critical skills outside of your what is the financial concepts for you to be like excelling in this industry. If you notice, I'm not talking about anything high function technology at this point. I'm talking about a Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint. Maybe again to an extent, I can also add here Microsoft Word. Nothing beyond that. In my last 20 years of my career, these are my tools. No fancy applications, nothing more than this. No other big softwares what we have. Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Word. Right. Right. So now coming to the next stage, what are the gaps between what you guys study as an academics and what does the industry require? Again, this slide is well thought of, put it so based on our various campus interviews when we go. Sometimes we find it very funny when students come with their own different skill sets which doesn't require for them at all for the job they're applying. Again, I don't blame them because it's a lack of understanding of the role, lack of understanding of the business, lack of understanding of the landscape, right? So what do you guys broadly learn in college? You do accounting, you do financial management and security analysis, portfolio management, the CAPM, valuations of bond stocks, everything. Broadly left-hand side, everything is what we high level learn in college. But what also happening is the questions are given very clearly in the textbooks and you try to solve them using the formula what you understood. But what actually industry requires relative valuations. Industry requires M&A precedent, understanding of the M&A precedent transactions, understanding of free cash flow analysis, right? ROIC analysis. These topics on the right hand side will also be available in the academics, but the lens what you see is very, very academical, very much exam driven. So if there is a question and you want to solve the problem, there's never a thought of applying that into the real life, right? And we have also witnessed in many of the campus interviews, while I was just making some notes, I could recall many students come with Kiran, I want to get into financial services, and what is the skill? He says, no, I'm good in technical analysis. No, technical analysis doesn't yield into a KPO industry. You might get into trading. Trading is very different than technical analysis. And technical analysis, if you think that is skill set, no. Now technical this is largely algorithm based. Anybody can do, right? And many people, the moment we tell people about the different ways of income statements, they're so academically tuned on a T-shaped income statement. The moment we talk about a vertical income statement, they're lost. Very, very basic, very simple thing, right? And also start focusing beyond Indian companies. Whenever you guys are doing any kind of research, any kind of analysis, the entire focus is on Indian companies. No, when we see this landscape, when we see the client base is of the global companies. Majority of the KPOs are serving US clients. So for you to be industry ready, the best way to start is focus on understanding the US financial market. Start understanding how US company files their returns, sorry, files the annual reports. Start reading those. So that starts giving you the terminology. Stop using the terminologies like crores, thousands. No, start talking millions and dollars. So that's where you start slowly tuning yourself into industry ready. So now we understood broadly what are the gaps. So we are here. So now let's also try and understand how to bridge this gap. This is very important. How to bridge this gap? Simple. Learning the real financial statements modeling, DCF, M&A, Excel, applying the academic concepts to real life. Let's say you understood capital asset pricing model in college, there is a theory, you went through the concept and you have prepared that question for a 3-mark or a 5-mark answer. But start applying that in a real life. You'll start understanding what are the different variables, where is the data coming from, where you have to source the data. So that will give you a real experience while you're talking in the interview. Because that is when you actually slowly coming out of the textbooks to the real world information which is spread across internet. Right? So next I would say first understand, frame your career. What is that you want to do? You want to get into equity research, you want to get into a real KPO, within KPO you want to get into investment banking, private equity, asset management, XYZ, XYZ. Until you really frame your career, you will be trapped into a life where you start your career as a BPO, or maybe something in KPO which you are not liking or which you're not prepared, but you are something which is not meant for you at all. So first start understanding. I am hoping this today's session should give you a broad understanding of the landscape. What are the difference between BPO, KPO, and captives, and what these firms offer, and how you can actually re-engineer yourself to better get equipped. And it's a receive real world training. Real world training, don't get into any kind of additional courses. That is not going to help. Please, I'll be talking about that in a little while. But see if you can actually get hands-on training by experienced analysts. Try and get connect from your alumni. Ask them, they will definitely help you. Also look for internships wherever you can actually do something what you really want to do once you start your career. Don't do internship just for the sake of it. That is one of the important milestone in the MBA or the postgraduate journey. You should be very serious about it. And very important one, while you're networking, don't ever approach for jobs. That is not going to work out at all. The best way there is you approach them, or even if somebody is reaching out to me in LinkedIn, approach me with something. Kiran, I'm trying to do this one. I have done this with whatever limited knowledge I have. Can you please help me review this? Trust me, that is going to yield you a better results and also the highest recall value. Whenever there is an opportunity, I'll be able to recall that person who did that extra mile during the college, which will help him to yield that job which is looking at. And try to be a holistic skill set of both your soft skills and hard skills. Right? So one thing I wanted to just highlight here is nowhere I would ever encourage people to do a fancy multiple courses. Somebody does NCFM courses, somebody does some extra certifications, somebody wants to do data analytics course. Many people approach me asking, Kiran, should I do data analytics? No, first learn Excel. Simple. And nothing is required at this point. You just have to utilize whatever you have in your academics that is going to help you to start your career, provided you start applying them, start practicing them with the real life situations. So now we discussed about what is a gap. We did discuss about how to bridge the gap. Now let's quickly discuss what are some projects and assignments that you can actually do applying your academics. So this is again a very high level list, very indicative list. If somebody wants to take notes, again, that's not really going to help you guys, but I'm just giving you some real life situation, real life projects, what you can actually do applying your concepts, which will help you to talk confidently, talk the language what the KPO industry talks while you're facing that interview. Because now you're not talking superficial. Even if you're just talking one very simple concept of CAPM or the concept of beta, if you have done that yourself in an Excel, trust me, you can talk for 15 minutes non-stop. That will give the confidence to the interviewer, saying that, oh, this guy has actually done something. This subject excites this person. We can actually try this person. So you are not only showcasing yourself as you are industry ready, but you're also telling people that I am trainable. This excites me and I have done something. I need some mentoring. I need somebody who can handhold me. I can do wonders in this case. Right. So one challenge which I completely agree that many of us don't get the internships which you want to do, so that will help you to get a job. Fair enough, but that should not stop us from doing this. Take my example. While I was preparing for this, I could actually just reflect back on my own journey. So when I was doing my MBA in one of the college in Bangalore. So I got an internship in Bangalore Stock Exchange. You know, Bangalore Stock Exchange is like nowhere relates to the job what I want to apply. The job what I was put onto the internship is pick up the call, the phone rings, pick up the call, you say hello as a customer service, then they will give you the portfolio number, you have to tell them the portfolio value. Simple. But what I did, I started working with one of my faculty telling that I want to build something on my own, let's see. So then we built a very portfolio optimization formula. We worked upon various companies, built something so that I could understand more concepts which I can speak during the interviews. We also did valuations. So that what it did, it helped me understand Microsoft Excel in better. It helped me understand how the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow are structured, what is what, so that I could speak during the interview. And that is what it helped me to get the job, not my marks. If I don't know if this helps you, my entire career, my average score is 58 to 60%, with the highest is 64% during my MBA. But what helped me to get my job and also to be successful is more application of your concepts into the real life. Now, very briefly on the technology trends. So we did speak about very quick iteration. We did speak about the overall KPO market, the Indian KPO market, BPO, KPO captives. What are the skill sets needed? What these companies do? What as an individual you should be preparing yourself while you're attending the interviews. Now, what is happening on the technology side? Very, very high level, if I can actually tell. Back then, when I was an analyst, I was just an analyst. I had no super technology in my hands. Everything we used to do manually. Say for sourcing the filings manually, reading the filings manually, creating a chart manually. But now what is the industry has become? Now the analyst, when you guys join as an analyst to any of the KPO firms or in Acuity, you will not be called as an analyst, but you will be called as tech-enabled analyst. Now most of the tasks what we perform, the industry has tried to automate to large extent wherever there's a standardization, but it will not be supremely successful because this entire industry is largely knowledge-based, judgment-based industry. So not everything can be automated. So that's why it's always an industry, it's like tech-enabled analyst, which we call, but we don't see a complete tech takeover of the task what we do. Right? So we maybe a task which we used to do it for 1 hour, now the analyst would do it in 45 minutes. So that extra 15 minutes will be put on doing some additional analysis and additional judgment and research, so that the research quality from X it becomes X plus something. So that is the industry where it is moving towards. Again, as such, the banks and the financial services are largely the fundamental is the data integrity and the data security. So you will see a lot of these, especially the KPO firms or the counterparties in the onshore, will be a slightly slow in adopting anything technology, because at any cost they cannot even slippage of the simple data or the data of the clients. So that is why it is a slightly slow. The processes get slightly automated, but not too much of the judgment task what we do on the information what used to process that analysis. Right. So this is broadly again on the industry and the technology, and I'll give you a very brief overview of what is Acuity as it was an Acuity. What we do. So Acuity Knowledge Partners is what we call. So we are the #1 provider of the research, analytical, and technology to the financial services. So if you can see, we have 640 clients. So now if you see if this all start making sense to you. So when I say 640 clients, so we are a KPO. So we are a strategic partner who are helping 640 different banks and financial institutions in their front office work, doing research and analytics. So now these 640 clients are spread across investment banks, advisory firms, commercial and retail banks, asset managers, private markets, corporate and consultants. So we are close to 6,200 employees as of today. And on the technology side also, we have Beat is like business excellence and automation tools. We have a proprietary technology where we like I told, where we start enabling our analyst to become a tech-enabled analyst. Right. So before we open for the Q&A, my 2 cents: always understand your why you want to get into KPO, what excites you in KPO. First of all, why do you want it to get? Why do you want the job? Start discovering your why, and your how to get there and what to do will become easy. So this is my simple principle on anything and everything what I do. Very, very critical for anybody, especially when you are starting your career. Talk to people, talk to your seniors, talk to your alumni, talk to industry, understand your why, discuss your why. After that, you will be so empowered in discovering your own how to do and what to do. Right. So good luck for your careers, guys, and I hope this session was purposeful. I always enjoy talking to students. I do a lot of mentoring as well, but very unfortunately today the setup what we have is something which is a monologue. Only I am talking. I can't really hear and sense how you guys feel about it, but I'm hoping it was an engaging session. So any questions, we'll be happy to take it up.
So thank you so much, Kiran. So this was a really interesting session. Hopefully the candidates and the folks who are listening should be able to learn few things for sure. So the first question we have is, what skills and qualifications are essential for starting a career in a financial services KPO? So just to reiterate, is there any academic degree absolutely required? So let's say for a software engineer, a BTech or an MCA is an must have a degree. So is there anything in this field as well?
Okay, that's a good question. Whoever asked this, guys, a good question. So majority of the intake what a KPO form takes is the minimum is a post graduation, let it be a PGDBM or an MBA finance. So this is, if you see, even if I look at Acuity as a recruiter or Acuity as an organization, 95% of the employees in the organization are either CFA, MBA, or PGDBM. So outside this, I don't really encourage anybody to pick up any additional courses, because again, that will be theoretical, right? So how much ever you people say that we'll teach you on the real life cases and all, but that is all scripted. End of the day, everything is scripted until you really dirty your hands, get into that internet and start searching for internet, start searching for that information, do your projects by yourself. It's not going to help you any new courses. So already you have a very strong syllabus with most of the colleges, which I know I'm engaged with. You have a very strong syllabus. All that you have to do is apply that syllabus into the real life. For that, you would need maybe you can connect to your alumni who can help you, or maybe you can reach out in the LinkedIn saying that I want to work on some assignments. Can you help me with tag somebody? You will find a lot of people who can help you out. That will be a very distinct, what I say, what is I would put the thing on your CV when you talk about during the interviews. I hope that answers.
Got it, Kiran. Thank you so much. So the next question we have is, can you describe the career progression within a financial services KPO?
Okay, that's again very nice. So I'll take my own career. I started off in 2005 as an analyst, where I started supporting on very small, low-hanging tasks. So I do something like trading comms, transaction comms, or just scrubbing some data for my senior analyst, everything. And slowly you move into the next category of starting supporting on the slightly more higher complexity assignments. Then you start working on live transactions where the bankers are working on an IPO or an M&A or thing. So as an analyst, you transition to become an associate, then associate, you transition to become a senior associate, then associate vice president and a vice president. So that is usually our hierarchy. As you move forward in your career, the pie chart of your time slightly differs from doing analytics more and more and start becoming also into client facing to an extent.
Got it, Kiran. Thank you. So the next question we have is, what are some typical projects or tasks that an employee in a financial services KPO might work on?
So I think that what we discussed here, we will bring that slide here. Yeah. So if I can actually reiterate on this slide, So whether even the person who asked this question, if you're looking at investment banks, private equity, equity research, so the left-hand side are the high-level typical tasks what the analyst is expected to do during the first 1 to 3 years of the career in each of these verticals.
Got it, Kiran. So I guess most of the questions are answered. One last question we are taking from that: what are the soft skills required for this role? So maybe you can highlight this a little more.
Yeah, very, very interesting question. The soft skills, I would say the one common thing for any student for that matter is how confidently you can speak during the interview. And that confidence comes with my personal experience. I can say the confidence comes from the honesty of the effort you put into doing certain things. When you are able to articulate something what you have done, that is the best and the foremost one. And the next one of this is how good you are as a team player, right? So nobody is going to value you as an individual contributor. You may be an outstanding individual contributor, but if you don't fit into the team, you may not be considered good. So one is your team player, one is your attitude to work with the teams, and your learning ability, and your honesty in whatever you have done so far. I think those are the criteria what I see when I'm actually interviewing the freshers.
Perfect. So thank you so much, Kiran. So we'll take one last question. I can see that there is one interesting question that can you please elaborate more on not approaching for a job while networking? So yeah.
Oh, thank you. Until yeah, this is very, very important question because many times when I open my LinkedIn, I get connections, and the first message I get is, "I'm a fresher. I'm looking for an investment banking career. Can you please refer me in your organization?" Why should I refer? On what basis I should refer somebody? Just give this is like a thought-provoking question to everybody, right? Versus if you actually, if there are, if I can go back to my LinkedIn and see there are certain students who approached me saying that they have tried to do some profile on their own. They tried to they tried to build some financial model on their own. And they approached me saying that, Kiran, I have done this as a part of my academics, applying something. Can you help me review this and provide your feedback? And that created the impact with me, saying that, okay, this guy during his college is trying to apply something. And he approached me for some guidance, not for the job, but for something he wants to learn. I mean, wherever I could provide, I have helped. But otherwise, I have also tagged them to respective people where I could not help. And when that guy published, I'm just giving one example, when this guy published this particular article, whatever the research report and this one profile and the financial model in his post, I was so happy to see the final product, and I did comment on it, saying that this is wonderful as an analyst, as a student you have done, and this is what has to be done across. And that creates an impact. And whenever I have an opportunity, that person will be the first person in my mind. I should hire somebody like that. So if you approach your industry expert for your guidance, ask them. There's no stupid question. You can ask them the stupidest question. Say, I don't know how to start my career. Please help me pick up few topics for my internship. They will help you. The moment you ask for a job, how can they help you for a job? With what credential you are coming out in the market saying that, Kiran, XYZ, please can you refer me in your organization? Until you have a lateral, until you have some years experience, I can't see really anything what you have achieved as a student. So that's what I would say, build if you have already built. Showcase that in a lot of public forums what we have offered in the market. So your profiles can be viewed and shared across. And if you get one or two interesting person who view and actually it gets connected with you, trust me that objective is achieved. But my honest recommendation, don't ever approach in LinkedIn for directly for jobs. It's not going to yield much.
Thank you, Kiran. So we'll be ending the session now. So this was really interesting. I can see that few more questions and the appreciating words about the session in the Q&A box. So yeah, I think this is really helpful. Few candidates have also asked that if you will get the recording of the session as well. Yes, you all will be receiving the recording. So we'll upload the recording by tomorrow afternoon, and you all will receive a mail as well. And on the same link as well, you'll be able to see the recording. Okay. So yeah, Kiran, this is it from my end. Any closing words from you, you can have, and then we'll end the session. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely, Adil. Thank you so much for you and Naukri Campus for this one, and also Acuity's marketing team for providing this opportunity. Like I told, I always love talking to students, especially at this juncture where they're moving from college to college to corporate. And I hope I could actually make some sense on this evening for most of them. And good luck, everybody. And whenever, if you ever join Acuity, I hope many of you will. Please do connect with me in the office saying that Kiran, I attended your webinar. That will be very, very good feedback then.
Thank you, Kiran.
Thank you once again, and have a good day, rest of you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.